trip. It's John from Learn to Stargaze, and this is a follow-up video to a video we shot last week about the Explorer Scientific Gemini 2 telescope. And now we haven't actually posted that video, so anyone that's watching live, this is sort of a pre-follow-up, if that makes any sense at all. Anyway, so a little bit of backstory. I ordered a blue Gemini 2 telescope from Best Buy, and two black Gemini telescopes showed up. So I ordered one blue one and two black ones showed up. Anyway, so we filmed a video on Prince Edward Island last week. We unboxed the telescope for that video very quickly, and then I left it there on Prince Edward Island because we have family that's still there and they have a telescope now they can enjoy. And so, but to make the thumbnail for the video that I just finished editing, we need to open up the second one. So we're gonna do that now in this video, and we've also got my wonderful wife, Jennifer, here, and she is gonna answer any questions we get from the viewers.
I'm not going to answer them. I'm going to ask them to you.
You're going to ask them to me. Okay. She won't ask them. She will answer them.
No, vice versa.
She'll read them
and
then ask them to me. Okay, so that's what's going to happen. All right. And just a reminder, our new book, Learn to Stargaze for Kids, is up on Amazon right now. We're not promoting it yet with advertising because we're waiting for a few more reviews to come in. So if you guys are fans of Learn to Stargaze and you have been for quite some time, definitely check out our new book, Learn to Stargaze for Kids. The artwork is incredible. And again, we're just waiting for some more positive reviews to trickle in. And so then we can really start promoting it. And this book will also be in bookstores soon, published by Formac. So they wanted us to condense the page count down by about 10 pages. And so we just moved the content onto some other pages, and hopefully we'll get this in bookstores within the next few months in hardcover with Formac Publishing. But again, just need some reviews on Amazon right now, just to sort of build the popularity. And if you are familiar with telescopes, again, we do have last year's new book for us, which was 110 Things to See with a Telescope. Definitely check it out if you don't have it already. Okay, so here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna unbox this telescope. Any questions, put them in the chat. Jen will ask them to me. And here we go. Okay. Take two on this telescope. Anyone that's watching, I see we have some viewers, say hi to Jen in the chat so she knows you're there. Okay, you got the instruction manual. Just came out easily last time. Yeah, pull on the bottom. There we go. Okay. All right. Let's see what we got here. Can we put the box somewhere where you can still see it? Let's see. Put it on the chair here, I guess. Okay. All right, so let's start with the tripod. And this tripod was the big, oh yeah, so some background on the telescope as we go through. So the Gemini 2 telescope is one of the only telescopes on the market today that is priced below 100 US dollars and is actually practical for a beginner astronomer. So in the video that we just finished editing on this, which will go live later today, if you're watching a recording of this, it's probably already there. We went through the 5 things that make a good beginner telescope. And this telescope pretty much hit on all cylinders except aperture. So this is a 70mm telescope. And if you really want to see all the things and 110 things to see with this telescope, you really want an aperture of at least 4 inches and dark skies. But for the moon, for the planets, and for, you know, for deep sky objects, like the ones from 50 Things to See with a Telescope, you'd have no problem with a telescope like this, assuming your skies are dark. Okay. One more box here. The eyepieces, we'll come back to those. There we go. Here's this is called the spreader, I think.
We have a question. Are binoculars worth buying for astronomy, just moons and others? I'm go with Resner Sniper 12 by 50 as it's only one that's available here. What are your thoughts?
Okay, so he's talking about 12 by 50 binoculars. So the question is, are binoculars good for stargazing? And the answer is yes, from dark skies. You know, you're not going to necessarily see the rings of Saturn with binoculars, and the moon is often a bit shaky, although there is a RASC certificate program. So if you've got binoculars, you can earn and explore the moon certificate with some of the larger craters, the lunar seas and stuff like that. So yeah, a lot of people love binocular astronomy, and 12 by 50, so 12 is the magnification. I find with 12, it's a little bouncy. You know, for me, 10 at the most. So 10 by 50 is a popular style of binoculars, but if you have stable hands, you can probably handle 12 times magnification. You can also mount binoculars on a tripod as well. You can get a little adapter that screws into the front, and you can mount the binoculars, and that helps as well. But yeah, if that's all you can get in your location, then that's definitely a great option. So binoculars are good for seeing deep sky objects, bright deep sky objects. You can see M22, M13, the Lagoon Nebula. So M13 and M22 are globular clusters, and M8 is a nebula. In the summer sky, use M42 nebula. Those are really great targets in binoculars. Andromeda Galaxy as well. So yeah, so again, I guess to summarize, binoculars, good for astronomy. They have their role. You know, they're not going to see the rings of Saturn like a telescope would. You just don't have the magnification. And then again, for exploring the moon, an up close view of the moon, that's what telescopes are for. Yeah. And so your list of objects with binoculars from dark skies would be like 50, whereas a telescope like this, even a beginner telescope, you're talking a few hundred good targets throughout the year. And then when you get up to like the 8-inch Dobsonian style telescopes and whatnot, that's where you end up with, you know, thousands of targets that you can explore. I mean, most of those targets are going to be open star clusters, dimmer galaxies, dimmer globular clusters, but a lot of those things are just outside of the range of small telescopes and binoculars. So there you have it. Okay, assembling this from memory here. Okay.
Is it a compass?
It's got a compass. I didn't talk about that in the other video. Kind of weird. I mean, I guess I can help you. You don't know.
Pointing it north.
If you can't find the North Star, you know, you could use the compass here. Okay. So again, if you're just tuning in, this is the Explore Scientific Gemini 2 telescope, and this is one of the only telescopes that if you're on a really tight budget, you know, under $200 is worth considering. So this telescope is actually under $100 US if you're shopping around. Unless you're on Amazon. For whatever reason, Amazon really pumps up the price of this telescope. Other sites like Best Buy and B&H, I think, have it for below 100. Below 100 US. This was the trickiest part last time. You've got a screw on the bottom that you effectively have to just screw into here. And that's almost it for the setup. All right, what's going on? Are we cross-threaded? No, I think we're good. And then the slow motion control. Oop, maybe that's too tight. Almost. There we go. Starting to work. We might be off. So this telescope has a slow motion control, which is one of the main reasons that makes this telescope great. Okay, maybe it was just a little greasy. It's starting to work now. Thought this might have been cross-threaded here. Because this knob here, you can run your finger along it, it starts to turn the telescope, you know, left and right. It's not quite there yet. Maybe it's locked here. So loosen that, tighten this. Yeah, there we go. Ah, there we go. Okay, so this knob here is the tension knob for this left-right axis, and then the bigger knob here is your slow motion control. Okay. Just in case we want to point this at the sun. Do we have the sun today? Not really.
Somewhere.
Okay. Which box haven't I opened yet? Oh, this one. Okay. So we've got a 90-degree diagonal. And the way you would stargaze with this telescope, if you're an adult, is from a chair. And I'll show you why. Here, we take an eyepiece out. Oop. Now, if you want to look at something high in the sky when you're standing up, you need to first obviously get it in the finder, which you haven't attached to it, but you're going to be way down here. And then way down here if you're trying to use the telescope. So it always is handy to stargaze from a chair as an adult, so you can sort of just casually sit here and look at what you're observing for objects that are high in the sky, which is most things, because it's astronomy. Okay, so we should have, oh, there's your altitude, slow motion control, or up-down. I try not to use too many big words.
Would getting a large Dobsonian, a 10 or 12 inch, be a mistake in a not so dark location? Bortles 6 skies.
So, I don't know, we have Bortle 7 skies here. So the question is, would 10 inch or
10 or 12.
10 or 12 inch Dobsonian be good in highly light polluted skies? Yeah, because your big advantage of the Dobsonian is really resolution as well. And so resolution is unaffected by light pollution. So you're going to be able to, when you see a globular cluster, for example, or a star cluster, you're going to see more detail because your resolution from that aperture is so much better. Yeah, now does aperture really help with light pollution? That's debatable. Yeah, I mean, objects tend to look better in telescopes with wider apertures. They just do, for a number of reasons. A lot of that is subjectivity, but yeah, a bigger aperture is going to give you more resolution, and things are just going to look better. And I love my Dobsonian. So I've had the 6 inch, the 8 inch, and the 12 inch that I've owned personally, and then at St. Mary's, where I'm supposed to go to work tonight, but I think we're going to be clouded out, we have a 16, which is just fantastic. So yeah, Dobsonians in the city, I love it. They're great.
Another question, what's the focal length? I'm guessing it's this.
Oh, focal length of this telescope, I think it's 700. Let's see if...
On the back of the box, it says 700.
Oh, yeah, 700. And then so if you're looking to calculate the magnification, you would take the focal length, the 700 millimeters here, and divide it by the focal length of the eyepiece. So like this fossil that it comes with is 26 millimeters. And so 700 divided by 26 would be your magnification, which I think is 27, if memory serves me correctly. And then so the other eyepiece it comes with is like a 9.6 millimeter eyepiece. And so this you would really only use for zooming in on the moon, maybe Saturn. And so this will give you a magnification of 72, I think. And although when I go stargazing, I usually just stick with one eyepiece the whole night. Like I try not to overcomplicate it. I don't typically add Barlow's. Just use this, if you're not looking at the moon and you're just looking at star clusters and trying to find galaxies and that sort of thing, I just keep things simple, one eyepiece the whole night. And usually around 25 millimeters.
Another question, how do you fix a shaky tripod? Says, this one looks shaky.
How do you fix a shaky tripod? You get a new tripod. No, I mean this. If you're looking at upgrading this tripod, you would upgrade the whole telescope. Although, compared to all of the other entry, let's say sub $250 telescopes, this is the best tripod that I've seen. And the other thing is, because you've got slow motion controls here, the impact of having a shaky tripod isn't as much as if you've got a telescope that you have to, sort of do this to aim. And then let go and then hope it stays in the same spot. That's when you have these slow motion controls, that's not a factor anymore. You basically just turn the slow motion control until your target is centered. You don't need to let go and then hope it stays in the same spot, like with most beginner telescopes. And that's the big benefit to this telescope too. The other thing, although I found, so we observed with this telescope for 2 or 3 hours last weekend, and I found I didn't actually use, oh there it goes, it just snapped into place. I found I didn't actually use this slow motion control because it was easy enough to just push the telescope left and right. So, yeah. So I guess one thing I wanted to test that we didn't test during the YouTube video is, can it hold the XYZ mount? And although before we attach this, you might have another question there. A way to really quickly get from one object to another is to loosen these axes, and then you can sort of throw the telescope around wherever you want. And then as you get close to your target, then you would lock it, and with it locked, the slow motion controls still work. And then you go to your target. So for the moon, for example.
The question is aperture fever medicine recommendations.
Aperture fever medicine recommendations?
If you come up with one, let me know so we can stop his purchasing.
Hey, I've come down in aperture over the years. Okay, so here's an XYZ iPhone mount, and these are, or phone mount in general, not iPhone specific.
Answer the question.
What's the cure for aperture fever?
Yeah. More aperture.
More aperture. No, I think a Maskatov telescope, a MAC, M-A-K, that tends to cure aperture fever because they say the MAC has like pixie dust in it. So they tend to, for whatever reason, the MACs, and maybe Schmidt-Cassegrains too, they tend to outperform scopes of similar size. And so if you're tempted to buy a bigger telescope, you could hypothetically go smaller and get a Mac and you might still be happy. I don't know, so maybe that's your cure. Okay, so let's see how this holds up. Is Dave Chapman on?
Not
I usually,
that I've noticed,
I
but
usually get
it's
all
possible.
the witty remarks from someone named Dave. You know, if anyone on the call is named Dave, there's an entire astronomy club here for people just named Dave. It's called the Royal Astronomical Society of Dave, and they've got their own website, and it's great, but only if your name's Dave. Okay, yeah. So it looks like this could hold a phone. Yeah, yeah. I mean,
Maybe wait the.
yeah, the advantage of, the big advantage of doing iPhone astrophotography with this versus any other beginner telescope out there is the slow motion control. Because if you didn't have this slow motion control and you were trying to hit the moon with a beginner telescope, like your sub $100 telescope, then you're gonna have to point it and let go to move over to your phone. And then it's the telescope, the weight of the phone is gonna flop the image and you're gonna be out of frame. But with this, you would just turn the slow motion control to get back on your target.
Okay, we have another question. How do you feel about eyepieces that come 3 in a case for $100 as opposed to spending some more money and buying them individually, possibly a little better qualities?
Okay, the question is on eyepieces. So there's a lot of kits out there with eyepieces. You know, I have one that comes with 4 and a Barlow, and I typically don't, I bought them and then I don't use them. And the reason is you sort of tend to fall in love with one eyepiece and then use that for almost all purposes. And even like if you have a really good 25mm eyepiece that you like, if you want to zoom in, you can just add a Barlow. And a good Barlow. There's good Barlows and there's bad Barlows. Anyway, you get what, so with telescopes, you know, sub $1,000 telescopes, you typically don't get what you pay for. Price isn't a very good indicator of quality with telescopes these days, But with eyepieces, it is. So even with this Plössl eyepiece that came with the telescope, 25 millimeter, I would actually change this out for an identical eyepiece of just higher quality. And the view, I guarantee the view that you get would improve significantly. Anyway, yeah, so the best eyepieces out there are Telview, make all the astronomers jealous. I think they have a 25 millimeter eyepiece that will fit this for $120. I know that's equal to the cost of the telescope, but that's the eyepiece you move as you progress in the hobby. That eyepiece comes with you and moves from telescope to telescope, and so it's always a good investment. Again, that's Telview, Telvue, and so that's just a really good eyepiece. And you would effectively, I would recommend that over the kit, if that helps. Yeah.
Are Cassegrains better for your first good scope?
Cassegrains are great. The ideal first telescope, if you had no budget, would be a C8, a Schmidt-Cassegrain 8-inch telescope. Yeah, I don't know if Lisa is on the video here, but Lisa has Lisa's Moonwatch on Facebook. Hopefully I'm saying that right. Anyway, so she started with an 8-inch SCT on an Evolution mount, and it totally changed her world. Like every night she's out there stargazing, taking pictures of the moon with her phone and posting them on. She created a web page and YouTube account around it. It's such a good telescope. It'll make you fall in love with the hobby, just sort of like a Dob will. So if you've got less than $1,000, you know, the Dobsonian is the way to go. It's sort of like get the biggest Dob you can afford. If you really want to dive into the hobby and have a go-to mount, the SCT is the way to go. They're great. They usually come, the 8-inch has 2,000 millimeters of focal length, which gives you a lot of natural magnification, and so you typically want a go-to mount. You know, and usually you buy it with the go-to mount, so it'll come with an Evolution mount. It'll come with, you know, an 8SE, which is a Nexstar mount, and but you wouldn't buy a used Schmidt-Cassegrain and then go put it on an altazimuth mount. That's just asking for, you know, it'll be just difficult to point. That's all. More questions? This is great.
I'm not sure I understand this one. Did my man get buffed for carrying all the OTAs?
Did my man get buffed from carrying all the? Do I look buff? I guess I do go to the gym. I just came from the gym, so if that answers your very weird question, but we did. It's funny because we were brainstorming funny videos, and we thought it would be really awesome to have a workout video where we just lift telescopes, because we've got the 12-inch scope in the garage. We've got the imaging EQ6R Pro mount, and that's got to be way over 100 pounds when you've got a telescope on it and you're taking it across the lawn.
And some of the counterweights.
The counterweights, yeah. So requires 3 of these big counterweights when you've got a Newtonian on there.
Will you ever do a review on the new Dobs that Orion is dishing out? It seems they've discontinued most of their old Dobs.
I will answer that in a second.
Okay.
What's up?
Are you in the middle of a video?
We are live streaming on YouTube, having some fun. What's going on?
Nice. Oh, we took the day off, just ended off, we just got back from the music.
Oh, sweet. Yeah, we're gonna check that out tomorrow. All right. All right. What was the question? Oh, the new Dobs by Orion.
Yes.
Orion or Celestron?
This is Orion.
Okay. So, I don't know much about the new ones from Orion. So Celestron has StarSense now in their Dobs, which is, so they basically double the price of their Dobs and put on a mounts for your phone with that plate solve, so the Dobs always know where they are in the sky, and that's Celestron's system. I don't know if Orion has one similar now. Orion used to have one called IntelliScope, and that had a push-to go-to, so you had a digital hand controller, and it would say left or right and up and down on the hand controller as you move the scope. Orion's new, I mean, they're probably all the same mirrors. And so the thing you want to look for in a Dobsonian is, I guess these days, is just the quality of the focuser. You want it to be able to hold 2-inch diameter eyepieces. That's an important quality of the Dobsonian. And then, I mean, you can usually switch out the finder scope that they come with for a red dot or a Telrad, because you generally want a Telrad or a red dot finder on the Dobsonian. And the reason you want that, if anyone doesn't know, if you look at the book, for example, these are called Telrad circles. And so what you do is you line up your finder, looks like that, and you basically just line it up with the stars, so you know exactly where to find things in the sky. And so here's even a giant Telrad ring, for example, to show what the field of view of the different size telescopes. So that's sort of a little bit smaller binoculars, 25 times magnification and 100 times magnification. That's what those rings mean. Yeah. So, I mean, Orion Dobs are great. I've owned 2 of them. The 6 and the 8 of mine were Orions. And then all the ones we have at St. Mary's University are 8-inch as well. So, yeah, hopefully that answers your question. They're probably great. Can't say too much more about them than that.
First ever beginner scope for about 150 or 180 pounds budget. Reflector or refractor scope?
Yeah, so if you're in the UK, there's a website called Bresser, and that seems to be the place to get the best telescopes. And a lot of them have the same lenses. Explore Scientific that's how it might be branded here in Canada or the United States, and then it might be Bresser in the UK. I mean, it's mostly the mount that matters at that price range, and so there's more things to avoid than to look for, almost. Like, you want to avoid the equatorial mounted telescope. So that's the one with all the different dials and bells and whistles and stuff, and the telescope is it doesn't move up and down, it moves in right ascension and declination, and that really confuses beginners. And so that's one I would avoid at that price range. Yeah, I mean, below $200, this is probably the best one. There's also the Zummel series Dobsonian. So they've got 100 millimeter, a 114, as long as it doesn't have Burr-Jones, and they've got a 130 as well. And I'm guessing they use all the same mirrors as Celestron. And yeah, so that's what you would look for. Make sure that if you're getting a Newtonian, make sure that the focal length is like 4 or 5. If it says 8, you want to stay away. So generally you want to stay away from Newtonians with apertures that say 114 or 127. Those ones, that's an indication that the telescope has been what's called Burr-Jones, and they sort of cheat. They put a lens in the focuser mechanism to double the magnification to make it look better on the box, but it reduces the quality of the telescope. So, anyway.
Is this the highest the tripod can be set?
Yes. Although that's typical for the beginner telescopes, because again, if you were on earlier, we talked about how you want to observe with one of these. You want to observe from a chair. It's a much more stable way to observe, and it puts the eyepiece at the right location. But yeah, this is as high up as that goes. These are great questions.
What's a good portable alternative to a 10-inch Dobsonian, mostly observing deep sky objects?
Yes, the alternative to the Dobsonian is the SCT. And you could probably go a little bit smaller. So a 6-inch, an SCT or Muscatov, so Mac. So there's this really popular Mac telescope, and I think they come in 127 millimeters. So like, no on the 127 millimeter Newtonian, yes on a 127 millimeter Muscatov. And so you'll see those. Sometimes they come on alt-az mount as well, but they do come on the AZGTI series mounts, and so that is a great combination. And so I can show you an example of a Muscatov telescope here. And so they look like this. This is only a 90 millimeter, and so you're basically looking at a bigger, slightly bigger version of this, but this can go in your luggage. And then what you would do is you would take this and you would put it on an AZGTI mount. And I'll go grab one of those real quick and show you. Entertain the masses. And time check. How much time do we have?
I need to leave in 10.
Okay, so 5 minutes. I know.
The telescope is as big as the, or tripod is as big as the telescope.
We're getting crazy here. But here is the AZGTI. Now it doesn't come with the wedge, but just this, no counterweights. I've heavily modified it, but look for one that looks like this. And you can put the Magnification of almost any size on this mount. And so and then you can travel with it, and they're nice and light. I've taken this everywhere. And so we flew with it down to, I flew with this down to Phoenix earlier this year with all of this. And so all of this packed down into my carry-on bag with my luggage and my computer. So.
Sometimes security wonders what it is.
Oh, security is very confused. It's funny that they didn't complain about the counterweight. It's a bludgeoning tool. Yeah. And so this focus tube is extended a little bit, so all this can come down. It can condense right up. Yeah. But the important thing to answer the question is for the Mac telescope, a telescope like that. This is a very famous design. This is the C90. Yeah, and again, this is for people with budgets of maybe $700 to $1,000, and they're looking for something smaller and more useful than a big Dobsonian. Yeah. So, again, Magnification, AZGTI. There's actually we're back. Yeah. Yeah. Just because I know I'm going to get questions on this. This is my current imaging setup, and so. This is, I'll just walk through this and then we'll probably be done with this video. So get all your questions in. Oh, I see a question.
Coming.
I
can't ask them because you're too busy finishing.
Okay, I'll answer this one. Is joining an astronomy club good? Yes. Joining an astronomy club is awesome. You should almost do that before you buy a telescope. But most people don't. So.
What's wrong with a 6-inch Dob?
What's wrong with it? I love the 6-inch Dob.
Okay.
Yeah. No, 6-inch Dobs are great.
15 by 70 binoculars with tripod versus 114 over 450 Dob.
I like telescopes. I would always pick telescopes over binoculars. It's just the way I don't like holding things. I like to just sit and observe. Yeah.
Celestron Explorer 114 AZ not worth it?
So again, the 114. That's the number you want to watch out for. So 114 is if your Newtonian has that aperture, it's probably Burge-Jones. And again, they're using a cheat in the focuser to double the magnification, but that reduces the image quality and it makes it hard to see even things that should be easy to see. Yeah. Are we caught up?
Yes, I think that's
Okay.
actually all the
So
questions.
I'll just basically walk through the setup so don't get questions. Sharpstar 61 telescope. So this is a triplet refractor. You need triplet to take pictures of deep sky objects in space so that you don't get aberration, so that the stars aren't stretched out or blurry or the wrong color. Okay, so triplet refractor. This is a guide scope. It's a 50 millimeter star field guide scope. It's got an ASI 120 mm camera for guiding, and so this is just a black and white camera that goes in the finder scope. This is a ZWO ASI 294 MC Pro. And so this is a one-shot color camera. It has an extra field flattener focal reducer in here, so it makes the focal length of this only 270, I think it's 270 millimeters. We also have on here the ASI Air, and if you're doing any astrophotography, this vastly simplifies it because you don't need the computer anymore, which is very cool. This will even live stack your images, so you don't need to worry about processing and stacking stuff. Yeah.
What do you do when it's cloudy outside?
What do I do cloudy? Netflix and chill. I do my homework. I'm a master's student.
Is there something that you can do for astronomy when it's cloudy? Just
Yeah.
hope for holes, or
So
Take the
sucker
night off.
holing, I don't find that very fun. Yeah. Oh, someone asked about the 114 in the Zoomel. I think they may have a different mirror size or mirror design. That might be parabolic instead of circular. And so just check the focal ratio. If the Zoomel 114 has a focal ratio of 4, it's good. If it has a focal ratio of 9, it's bad. Yeah, okay. Autofocuser, this controls the focus, and all 3 of these cameras and the mount are controlled by the ASI Air through your phone. So that's how that works. I've got an entire video on this. You can just go to my channel and you'll see it there. Okay, I'm gonna put this away. We're gonna take one more question on beginner telescopes, and then we gotta go because Jen has a hair appointment. Okay. Final questions.
I don't have any more at the moment.
Okay.
You have a great audience. They're
Yeah.
fun.
Did you hear that, audience? Jen says, you are awesome. This is a lot of fun. I think we should do this again. This is our first time that Jen and I have ever teamed up in a live stream. Yeah, just some final thoughts. Again, Learn to Stargaze for Kids needs reviews before I can really start advertising it.
Oh, one more question. Can you show the ASI hookup again?
The ASI hookup, I already put it in the garage, and we gotta go. So, yeah, there's a video where I go through that setup in great detail.
How do you deal with light pollution?
How do I deal with light pollution? For astrophotography, I have an L-enhance filter. The L is better, the L-enhance is less expensive. And that's how I deal with it there. As for visual astronomy, you just gotta know your expectation, or you have to have your expectations set correctly and know what is possible to see. Yeah, and again, just to plug, I do make a living as an author. I'm gonna plug 110 things to see with the telescope again. Because if you don't have this, this is the book you need to get for really raising your stargazing chops to the next level, and you will earn certificates from the Astronomical League in the States and the Royal Astronomical Society of Canada. It does not matter where in the world you live, they will send you your certificate if you're a member of one of those organizations. I think Royal Astronomical Society of Canada is about $80 a year, US. Astronomical League is probably similar.
Filters or shoot mono?
Filters, I just use, it's a color camera. So the only filter I use is a light pollution filter, L-enhance. I like to keep things simple because this is outreach stuff is what I like to do best. I'm less interested in pretty pictures.
UHC for visual minimum aperture viable?
UHC is an ultra high contrast filter. These rapid fire questions are great. You tell me when you need to go. Anyway, and you can just leave.
Just a minute. Yeah.
Yeah, UHC is a light pollution filter and a nebula filter. I found it works better just on the nebula. I haven't found it overly effective in the city in Bortle 7. And I'm not sure if it has an aperture or focal length limitation. But you can get that filter in 1 1/4 inch and 2-inch diameters. Yeah.
And we're getting asked to link the book.
I'll link the book. Yeah, I can drop that in the description. But if you just type Learn to Stargaze into Amazon, it should come up, or my name. Yeah. Cool. Yeah. So thanks everyone for all your support. We are gonna
I've got to go.
say goodbye because we gotta go. But you have been great. And again, tune in. We've got a really fun adventure video where we go to Prince Edward Island and set up this telescope. You'll love it. Hopefully we'll have it posted by the end of the day. Okay. All right, everyone. The future is looking up. Now, how do I stop this? There it is. There's the button.